Hello everyone, my name is Ernesto Chacon and today I will be discussing the James Liang software conspiracy. Basically what happened is an engineer by the name of James Liang, who used to work for Volkswagen, developed a software that would be able to display the incorrect amounts of pollution that the vehicle would produce instead of the actual ones. And the reason that this is a computer subject is because James Liang used the computer to develop software. So there you have it. It's a computer subject. The way this car would work is that the engine would require more fuel in order for this cylinders are trapped. So it needs more fuel for this trap to work. The way the trap works is by containing the pollutants that the car would expel most of them, but instead it would keep most of it inside the trap. And the way the software would work is that it would be able to detect when the car was being tested on the road and tested in a lab, I would assume. So when it was on the road being regularly driven, the software would know, and then it would allow for the trap to release those stored pollutants, therefore letting the engine use less fuel for the trap to work. It would basically make the trap not work, and that's why the engine would use less fuel. And the ethical issue that Liang faced was he was using the software to earn the company more money, and for other reasons, but the main reason was to increase the amount of revenue that the company would make. But he also faced the issue of not using it, and while he was earning less money, he would be giving the consumers the product that they were paying for. And so this leads to the first ethical point as to why this is good. And the use of the software on the car was able to improve the performance of the car. And by our ethical standards in the class, that we decided that something is good when there's an increase in education, health, productivity, and security. This is clearly an increase in productivity. By being able to save fuel, it would also improve in other areas of the car. And one of the main points of this is of being able to be fuel efficient. The car being fuel efficient was that the consumer would save money, and that money could be better spent on something else, such as pleasure or education, if by chance you were studying, or if you're a college student and you bought one of these cars. I chose this picture, the piggy bank surrounded by money in particular, because no one wants to pay more than they require to, especially when it comes to fuel and how expensive it is these days. Nobody likes to break the piggy bank. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to waste money. And another way that James's actions could be ethical was seeing how his software would increase the performance of the vehicles. It would save the consumers money, but it would also make the company more money, because the increase in performance would lead to better sales. And selling products to make more money is never considered unethical. What makes it unethical is the way you earn that money and sell that product. The consumers receive a pretty reliable vehicle, but again, they're buying something that they're not quite sure how it works, which will lead into how James's actions were also unethical. The picture I chose here is what basically I envisioned when I see a company capitalizing on the pollution, specifically how it negatively affects the environment. They don't really see pollution; they just see money, a way to get more revenue. It's not really a political statement. I just this is what I envisioned. Just a CEO, dude, just being overflown in cash. So now to how his actions were unethical. I'll be using the ACM Code of Ethics to show how James was being unethical. And one of these codes that the ACM Codes of Ethics have is that you have to be honest and trustworthy, and he clearly wasn't transparent on how the software would work, because it would work normally. It would make the car work normally when it was being tested, but when it was being on the road, when it was being tested on the road, like it was being driven regularly, it would be able to detect that, so it would secretly swap. But they caught on to that, and he was basically caught doing something he wasn't supposed to. So I chose this picture because it's a pretty big violation that he committed, not being honest and trustworthy. And in the back, factory causing pollution. So this also leads into my next point of how James was being unethical. Excuse me. So aside from lying to the customers, the amount of pollution that this car was producing was actually above the limit of the law. So he did unjustified damage to the environment. Again, violation of the ACM Code of Ethics. And you could say that also by our ethical standards in the class, that although James was able to increase the productivity of the cars and save people money, he was also causing the detriment of health to consumers. The cars increase the pollution, which affects the environment, and it's a downfall on it's a not downfall it's a detriment to the consumers, because not the way that diesel powered engines also work is that when they release more pollutants, the pollutants have actually been found to cause more asthma, and so it does actually affect health. Another decrease in our ethical standards is the decrease in security. James basically lied to the consumers, and as a consumer myself, and most of us, we want to have we want to feel secure in getting what we paid for, and knowing the product that we're going to invest in. There's also the fact that James cost the company billions of dollars and reputation, irreversible damage that the company will, I'd say they wouldn't be able to come back from. I personally believe that as a consumer, I'm thinking of this in the consumer way, that the main reason that it was unethical is because he deceived people who were trying to buy an environmental friendly product, but in fact they bought a car that did quite the opposite, even though it would help them be more productive, because if you get a better car, you won't be having that you won't be having an unreliable car. Instead, you'll have one that works pretty well with its torque and acceleration, and it'll get you to job school on time. But instead, it could kill many animals in the future. I'm basically thinking about how it more affects the environment around us as well. And not only that, but just think about how what happened in Chicago recently. That's attributed to all the pollution that we've caused. Even the nickname of Chicago, Siberia, that's pretty bad. So that's just my personal thoughts on it. This picture kind of shows whether I believe it's unethical or ethical. I'm pretty sure it's unethical. I believe it's unethical, and I proved it using the ethical standards that we've chosen in our class. I tested it with our standards and found that it's unethical. So in conclusion, James Liang really wasn't the mastermind behind all this. He was instructed to do this by his superiors, and even though he was instructed to, he could have said no, but he still did it anyways, and he was sentenced to 40 months in federal prison. And I think that the way that he was sentenced to 40 months in federal prison, it kind of speaks to the power of the technology that we have, and the power of the person who creates it. Because without James and him developing the software, that car would have never received the backlash that it did. You know, calling back 11 million cars that were sold to the people. It would have just been working fine in this case if James hadn't done anything, but since he did, it caused more damage than it did good. The power of technology doesn't really have any limitations. It just depends on who has it and how they're using the technology. And then this picture from one of my personal favorite superheroes, Spider-Man. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's pretty true for people in the CS or technology industry. I'd like to thank you for sitting through this presentation, and have a good day.